guys, hope you're well and welcome along to this Sunday special that I've produced. In this episode we're going to take a look at the scout reports that come in at the end of the month. We've obviously got transfer deadline day and I'm just going to go through the table, the league table, just to give you an idea of where we currently stand, and also take a look through some of the other leagues and some of the other players that are in this save. So first up, let's have a look at our own position in the league. Sunderland are racing away with the title at the moment, having won 6 games out of 6 and their goal difference is at 13, so they're obviously smashing their way through this league. Oxford in second place, having got 5 wins on the board, alongside Portsmouth, who are also sitting there with 15 points, as our Doncaster, down in 3rd and 4th respectively. We've got Bolton in 5th place with 14 points and Barnsley just ahead of ourselves on goal difference alone with 13 points. Okay, so just moving back down to the National League just to see how things are going on down there, and Wrexham and Barnet are having a big old battle for the promotion spaces there in 1st and 2nd. Just behind them is Salford City, who have obviously been relegated back down to the National League. And I'll just scroll through the list here so you can see how everybody else is shaping up in that division. Notts County down in 17th position, and Dover holding up the bottom there, having not even got a result on the board at all, with 0 points at this stage, having played 6 games. Meanwhile, in League 2, Gillingham and Accrington Stanley share 16 points, having won 5 games and drawn 1. So they're obviously having a bit of a tug-of-war for the top spot in League 2, followed up by Tranmere Rovers on 15 points and Forest Green down in 4th position, who beat us in that cup tie earlier on in a couple of episodes ago. In the Carabao Cup, having 14 points. Just scrolling through the league here just to see how everybody else is getting on, and obviously we've got an old foe there, Northampton Town in 14th position, and Eastleigh, who are from the National League, are currently sat down at the bottom of the table with just 1 point, having managed to get themselves a draw on the board, but that is going to be a long cold battle for them, I think, throughout the season. Okay, so in our future, obviously we're looking to get into the Championship next season. Leeds currently topping out the table with 18 points alongside Norwich. They're there obviously on goal difference, so again a really tight battle at the top in this early phase of the season. Crystal Palace, Cardiff and Aston Villa all share 16 points, so again really tight. Villa obviously having been relegated from the Premier League. We've got Nottingham Forest, who will obviously become one of our rivals as well in the Midlands derbies, on 10 points there in 7th position. Stoke City in 6th place. And as we move down the table here, looking for Birmingham down in 17th place with just 5 points on the board. They obviously aren't quite clear of that relegation battle with only 5 points on, but Ipswich haven't actually got themselves a point on the board yet, so they could be coming down. And there'll be a man on the list of players that I'm going to be looking at in the transfer window that might be of interest, considering he currently plays for Ipswich. Premier League wise, we've got Manchester City out front, having played 4 games and got maximum points, 12 points on the board, followed up by Manchester United, so it's an all Manchester front row, let's say, with Chelsea coming up behind them and Wolves in 4th position. Great stuff from the Wolves. Clearly they might be our biggest adversary as we go through the leagues here towards the Premier League. Moving down the table, Liverpool down in 11th position, only having 5 points on the board. And as we get to the bottom here, West Brom, having gone up last season, I believe it was, have no points on the board, but neither do Fulham and Huddersfield. Okay, so with the scout reports in, let's get through those next. And first off, Johannes Magnussen is down in France. Unfortunately, he's brought back some terrible youth academy players here. Matteo Chevalier has a potential of 36 to 52, so we'll be rejecting him. And then we have Simon Guerin with a potential between 42 and 62. So once again, somebody we cannot be signing up here, and we will reject him. Okay, so Joel Cook has stayed in England and he's fared a little bit better, has a few more players on the list, none of them with really decent potentials, but we'll just go through the ones that I've left here available on the list for you. So we've got Peter Davies with a potential of 55 to 75, Callum Turner 53 to 73, Marcus Wright 50 to 74, Will Robinson, the best of the bunch, potential of 60 to 88, and Charles Price, a goalkeeper, with a potential of 56 to 78. Okay, and Oliver McDonald has now moved across to Argentina. He has Lino Sandoval with a potential between 49 and 73. Luis Luna, 48 to 63. Iago Galeno is a goalkeeper with 51 to 73 potential. We've then got Iago Saavedra, 50 to 68 goalkeeper potential. Again, not great, but he is 14 years of age, so we'll just monitor him on the report to see if he improves over the next couple of months. And then the best of the bunch is Diego Urada, potential between 67 to 93. Right guys, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a list of the regens that have appeared in the game so far. I'll show you who is the best of that bunch, and also obviously give you a quick rundown of some of the players that have also left our squad and joined other teams. On top of that, there's a couple of players that I am keeping an eye on that are genuine players from the game itself, and I'll talk to you about those as we pass by them. So first up here we've got Elio for Brighton and Hove Albion, a right back with 72 overall. He's currently worth 3.3 million. Next up we've got a gentleman whose name I am not even going to try to pronounce because I'm going to butcher it big time if I do. He is Turkish, 66 overall, and currently playing for Hull City, and actually within our budget in terms of the costings for the player. So at £825,000 we could go out and grab this guy. So let me know in the comment section down below, obviously, as we go through this list, if there's anybody that you think that we should be looking at in the future. Let me know and I will keep a closer eye on those guys. Next up we have got Mark Tanner playing for Bristol City with 69 overall, 6'6" striker, solid player and worth £1.4 million at this stage. Next up we got Ryan Soares at Crystal Palace, a left back, 19 years of age, 6'3" and has 68 overall. Next up we have Jordan Sadler down at Queen's Park Rangers. He can play in the centre attacking midfield role or left midfield, 71 overall and 5'10", so that obviously will go against him in certain respects. Sean Olafe, another Crystal Palace player, can play as a striker or a centre mid. Only 1-star skill moves though and 2-star weak foot. Does have the solid player and swerve pass traits, and he's 73 overall at this stage. 5.5 million is his current evaluation, and obviously for ourselves his wage is something that we wouldn't be able to step up to anyway. Mia Martinez, a Spanish centre mid, left mid or right mid, can play as any of those across the central line there. Has the playmaker trait for the CPU and has 73 overall. Next up we've got Mason Mellish from Cardiff, central defensive midfielder, but can also play as a central mid, 70 overall and has the power free kick trait, currently worth 1.9 million, and he's just obviously arrived at Cardiff, so we couldn't go off and buy him straight away anyway. Paulo Ferreira for Queen's Park Rangers, Argentinian centre-back. Again, 1-star skill moves, 3-star weak foot and has the long throw-in trait. Currently has 68 overall and he's worth £925,000. Ian Essers for Sheffield Wednesday, central defensive midfielder from the Netherlands. Has the long throw-in and second win trait. He's currently 71 overall and available for 2.1 million if, obviously, he hadn't just joined the club. Nias Drimic, probably butchered that, but he's currently a Swiss player playing for Charlton Athletic. Has the power header trait and has 69 overall, 6'5". Has just joined the club and is worth £1.1 million. Mustafa Dumbai from Mali, he's a central defensive midfielder with 70 overall. He's a team player and obviously at Nottingham Forest at the moment, worth £2 million. Okay, so we've got Connor Clisby, who's a goalkeeper for Millwall at the moment, with 70 overall, has the comes for crosses trait, and is Australian, currently worth £1.5 million. Okay, so next up we've got Ali Al-Habsi from Nottingham Forest. The goalkeeper from Oman has 70 overall and has the cautious with crosses trait available, currently worth £1.2 million. Lucian Stahl, a right midfielder for Bolton Wanderers, Romanian, has the outside foot shot and team player traits, 20 years of age, and currently has a 66 overall rating. Right, next up we've got Kaolan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Saville, from Northern Ireland, 69 overall, central midfielder, can play the CDM, 5-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot. Finesse shot as a trait, and he's currently worth £1.2 million. Diego Runarsson, Icelandic centre-back for Warsaw, 66 overall, and has the solid player and 1 club player traits. He is currently worth £750,000, but as he is a player for Warsaw, we are obviously going to keep a keen eye on him to see how he progresses in his career there. Next up, we've got a Coventry City player in the form of Daniel Rossi. The striker from Italy has 68 overall with 4-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot, although he does have the injury-prone trait. He's currently worth £1.2 million. Next up, we've got Angel Intriago, Ecuadorian striker for Sunderland, 21 years of age, 68 overall, has the playmaker and team player traits, and is worth £1.1 million. John Harding from Coventry City, 70 overall, central midfielder, no traits to speak of at the moment, and worth £1.9 million. Conan Gondo from the Ivory Coast is at Milton Keynes Dons, or the MK Dons, however you want to say it, and he has the giant throw-in and 1 club player traits, has 68 overall, and is a centre-back. Now, he is a big regen player. Jay McGee, right midfielder, right winger, left winger, currently playing for Macclesfield Town with an 84 overall, 4-star skill moves, but only 2-star weak foot. Has the playmaker trait for the CPU AI, and he's currently worth, you can see it, £41.5 million, and that means that Mactown are sitting on an absolute stockpile of money, especially as his wage is currently only set at £14,500. They're going to make a ton of money when they sell him. Next up, we've got Josh Hall, centre-back for Grimsby Town, who can also play right or left back, 20 years of age, 72 overall, and has the lung passer and playmaker, both CPU AI traits, and is worth £3.6 million. Next up, we got Jack Dawson, central attacking midfielder for Carlisle United that can also play in the central midfield role. Has 71 overall, but only 1-star skill moves. But he does have a 4-star weak foot. Also has the lung throw-in, power free kick, and playmaker traits. He's currently worth £3.2 million. Luke Bowden, a player that I nearly signed when we very first started this career mode, and I've kept him on the list ever since. Luke was on the free agents list when we first started the career mode, so we could have had him for nothing. Didn't bother at the time, but he has reached an overall of 72 at this stage with FC Dallas and has the long throwing trait, and he's now worth around £4.1 million. Next up is Rory Drummond, a player that we used to have on our books and is now down with Torquay United. The central defensive midfielder from Scotland has solid player, playmaker, swerve pass and team player traits. He has 4-star skill moves and 2-star weak foot, and only has an overall of 59. But we'll keep monitoring Rory. Obviously, all the players that we've sold in the past, we are monitoring them just to see how they get on in the future. Next up, we've got a player that's on this list purely because I love that name. DJ Rogers from West Ham. He's a centre-back, can play as a right-back, 67 overall with the solid player trait. Only 1-star skill moves, but he is a defensive player, and he has a 4-star weak foot, currently worth £825,000. Next up, we've got Kieran Shaw, from Woking, a left midfielder, cam or right midfielder. Has 64 overall and has the early crosser and playmaker traits, and is currently worth £650,000. Bailey Saville is down with Salford City in the National League, has a 69 overall rating and can play as a right winger or a right midfielder. 2-star skill moves with a 4-star weak foot, no traits to speak of, but is worth £1.5 million. Okay, so next up is Andre Dozzell, who plays for Ipswich Town. He's a real player, and I've had him on different career mode series in the past. Always done exceptionally well with him, so I am monitoring his progress here. And obviously, with Ipswich Town being in the position they are in the league, he perhaps might be looking to leave if we gain promotion next season. He has the flair traits and has 73 overall at the moment for a central midfield player. It's not too bad, and obviously would fit into our team as it stands. He's currently worth £5 million, but as we can see, he's got a release clause of £2.6 million, so we could clearly afford him at this stage, but I don't believe that we will bring him in at this moment in time. However, let me know what you think about bringing him into the squad next season. Next up, we've got Moussa Dardi. He's just left our squad. The Senegalese central midfielder has 60 overall. He has the playmaker, power header and one club player traits. Obviously, the one club player trait doesn't mean much because he's already left. Skill moves is a 5-star, so are the weak foot. We will monitor him just to see how he progresses in the future. Damani Digana, he was one of our players too. 58 overall. The Gabonese left back is now playing for Morecambe. 4-star skill moves, 3-star weak foot with the lung passer and playmaker trait to boot. Gossi Harbour, another player that we've just allowed to leave, has the second win trait as a striker. He has 65 overall and only 1-star skill moves with a 2-star weak foot. Ewan McDonald, centre-back that we've let go, has 63 overall and the leadership trait. Was actually a pretty decent player, to be honest, but obviously as we step up through the leagues, those overall ratings are going to have a bearing on how players perform. Wilcox, another one that's just left the club. The striker has 63 overall and the giant throw-in trait. Only 2-star skill moves and 1-star weak foot, but we will monitor him to see how he progresses as we continue through this career mode. Daniel Kavar, Bosnia-Herzegovina player, striker, and has 72 overall, currently at Burnley with 5-star skill moves and a 3-star weak foot. No traits to speak of at this stage though, and currently worth £5 million. Patrick Van Buren is a left back or left wing back for West Ham United. Currently has 70 overall, 3-star skill moves and 5-star weak foot. No traits to speak of, but the Dutch player here does look as if he might be quite promising. Next up, we've got Tanguy Weisbeck, the French centre-back. He's currently at Fulham and has 71 overall, 2-star skill moves and a 4-star weak foot. No traits to speak of, but seems to be progressing along quite nicely. Okay, and so next up we've got another goalkeeper, this time from Burnley in the form of the Dutch Trevor Verrips, 72 overall, and he has the solid power player, power header and cautious with crosses trait. So the solid player and cautious with crosses is fine, but I'm not quite sure why a goalkeeper would have the power header trait, but there we go, something to bear in mind about the way that the mod might be working on goalkeepers. Next up we have Jamie Taylor, the striker for Fulham, has 77 overall and has the dives into tackles trait. He is currently worth £13 million and he is coming along quite nicely. We will monitor him as we go through the career mode. Okay, and we have another Fulham player up next. The Portuguese Miguel Aires Samayo has 71 overall, 4-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot with the injury prone finesse shot and playmaker traits. At 17 years of age with 71 overall, he looks to be quite promising and currently has a valuation of £4.2 million. Next up we've got Pierrick Samakan, 72 overall striker from Newcastle. The Frenchman only has 1-star skill moves and 1-star weak foot and no traits though, but obviously that 72 overall is interesting and we'll see how he progresses. Dylan Robale is a left midfielder from Bournemouth. The Frenchman has 77 overall already, but only has 1-star skill moves and a 4-star weak foot. But he does have the flair passage trait, currently worth £10.5 million. Zelly Palmer at Huddersfield is a central defensive midfielder, has 73 overall and has the dives into tackles and one club player traits. He's currently worth £4.1 million. Lucas Neudham, the left back that can also play as a right back for Spurs, has 71 overall and has the playmaker trait. He has 3-star skill moves and 3-star weak foot, and he's currently worth £2.7 million. Osmar Mireille Perez, the Spanish right midfielder that can play as a centre mid or left midfielder for Arsenal, left-footed, 4-star skill moves, 4-star weak foot, 70 overall with a long throw-in and second wind trait, and he's currently worth £2.3 million. Next up, we've got Mohamed Mendel. The Moroccan has 71 overall and can play centre-back, has 3-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot with the leadership, playmaker and second wind traits. The Bournemouth player here looks to be pretty promising, and he's currently worth £2.6 million. Okay, and next up we've got Junior Marshall, a Jamaican who's playing for Fulham at centre-back. Overall of 70 with 2-star skill moves and a 1-star weak foot, which is obviously pretty poor, but as he's a centre-back, that's not too much of an issue. It's currently worth £1.9 million. Another Fulham player here in Neil Lung, and he is a goalkeeper with 75 overall, has the lung throw trait, and he's worth £6 million. Next up, we got Sven Kraub, right back for Chelsea, can also play central defensive midfield and centre mid. The German has 74 overall with 3-star skill moves and a 4-star weak foot, 3 traits, dives into tackles, speed dribbler and playmaker, all of which are CPU controlled traits in themselves, and he's currently worth £6 million. Danny Iorfa's up next, and he is playing for Bournemouth. He is a centre-back or right-back with an overall of 69 and has the dives into tackles CPU trait. He's worth £1.1 million. Okay, so next up we have got a young Argentinian goalkeeper for Arsenal. Augustin Imperial. It has 80 overall and has 2 traits, the 1 club player and rushes out of goal, and he's currently worth £12 million. Corey Hector is a centre-back that has found his way into the Tottenham team. The young Jamaican has 70 overall and the second wing trait, and he's worth £2 million. Baptiste Gavry is playing for Brighton and Hove Albion at the moment. Left midfielder with 3-star skill moves and weak foot, has 79 overall already and has a pretty decent set of physical skills. Worth £15 million, so certainly somebody to keep an eye on in the future. Another Burnley player here in this form of Douglas Arthur Ferreira de Bessa. Yep, that is a mouthful. Can play as a central attacking midfielder or a left midfielder. The young Brazilian has 73 overall already, 4-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot with no traits, but worth £5.5 million. Another Brazilian, this time at Watford, is Tiago Nathan Fagundes dos Anjos, and I'm sure I've absolutely butchered that name, but with 4-star skill moves, 5-star weak foot, and the playmaker, second wind and team player traits, and an 85 overall rating, Watford have found themselves a £40 million youth academy regen, and he is going to be something pretty special, I would have thought, so we will certainly keep an eye on him. Next up, we got Daniel Dorca Masso, a Spanish right back who's playing for Spurs with 76 overall, has the second wing trait, and he's worth £10.5 million. James Connolly at Brighton and Hove Albion has 69 overall and has the speed dribbler and team player traits, and he's worth £1.2 million. Fraser McWilliams is a striker that's currently at TSV Hartberg, has 68 overall with 2-star skill moves and a 4-star weak foot with the playmaker and power header traits, and he's currently worth £1.3 million. Fredrik Sjöberg is a player that we used to have in our team, 63 overall, the Swede, with the playmaker attribute, is currently worth £500,000. Curtis Jones is a left or right winger for Port Vale with the solid player and flair passes traits, has 1-star skill moves and a 3-star weak foot, and is currently worth £675,000. Claude Ventola for Livorno is a right winger that can actually play as a cam as well, 64 overall with 4-star skill moves and a 3-star weak foot, and is currently worth £575,000. Aaron Peck is a striker for Aldershot who has the long passer, playmaker and second win traits with an overall of 66 and a valuation of £875,000. Rene Hansen is a player that we used to have in our team, bought through the youth academy, has a 59 overall and he's currently playing for Leyton Orient and he's worth £220,000. Rob Wilson, another player that came from our youth academy and he's currently playing for Bohemian FC. The right or left back has 57 overall with the solid player and playmaker attributes and has a valuation of £180,000. Sean Carter, another player that we used to have in the academy, is a centre midfielder with 57 overall for Cork City and has a valuation of £190,000. Adam Morgan is another player that came through our youth academy, has 61 overall and is now playing for Cambridge United as a centre back. The Welshman is worth £450,000. Patrick Cook, again another youth academy prospect that we let go, plays for Derry City with 58 overall. He's a central attacking midfielder worth £190,000. Simon Peterson came through the academy. The left back is now at Finn Harps and is worth £150,000 with his overall of 55. Liam Eriksson came through the academy. He is now playing for AFC Chindia and has an overall of 61. The player is worth £375,000. Liam Rose also came through our academy, 59 overall, has an evaluation of £300,000. Jamie Richardson made his way through our academy at one stage or another and has 61 overall now. Central defensive midfielder, currently plays for AFC Chindia and is worth £250,000. Cathal Kennedy was one of the players that came from the original Solihull Moors squad, centre back that we played in the central defensive midfield role quite often, has 54 overall and is worth £70,000. Ewan McDonald, another product of our academy, has 60 overall. He's playing as a central attacking midfielder and he's worth £400,000. Chris Walsh, another academy player, left for Derry City, has 5-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot. The 58 rated player has a valuation of £170,000. Ethan Morgan moved away from our academy. The central defensive midfielder has 57 overall and is worth £190,000. Dave Smith, another prospect out of our academy, moved off to China and has a valuation of £230,000 with an overall of 58. Rodri Andrews, another player that came from the original Solihull Moors batch of players. The right midfielder is now using his abilities out in Cremona, has 66 overall and a valuation of 1.3 million. Alexander Lenkvist came through the academy at the same time as Bjorn Nystrom and Peterson and Fredriksson, but didn't make the mark. He left for Cork City with an overall of 58 and he's worth £190,000. Jack McAllister, the central midfielder from Dagenham and Redbridge, is a player that I very nearly bought in instead of McConnell. With 65 overall, he has the leadership and second win traits, and he's only worth £650,000, but I just didn't think he had the potential that McConnell has. So I am keeping him here on the list, and we may still sign him in the future. Gordon Strachan, another central defensive midfielder from Scotland, playing for Notts County now, has 58 overall and is worth £240,000. He's a player again that I did consider bringing in. He's one of the original batch players that was created for Notts County in the mod. Denzel McLean, keeping an eye on him. We bought him through the youth academy. This Jamaican player has 52 overall, 5-star skill moves, and he's worth £70,000. Hanad Khaled is another player that we had in the youth academy. The Djiboutian has 45 overall. He's a central defensive midfielder or can play as a centre-back, and he's worth absolutely zero. Solomon Abbott is the Jamaican centre-back that came through the academy. He's on the free agents list because we let him go so that he could go off to try and find another deal, and hasn't done so yet. Has the second win trait, so we could sign him back up for free, but obviously we let him go to find another club. Tyler Bell, 61 overall now, striker for Notts County. Again, another player that I did consider in the early days of signing from some of my opponents in the National League, but he hasn't grown quick enough, so he'll probably come off this list ready for the start of next season. Alfie Bates has moved clubs. He was at Walsall and I did consider signing him. 67 overall. He's now plying his trade at FC Chambly Oise. Again, probably butchered that. And he's worth £1 million. Dylan Pearce from Maidenhead has 66 overall. This central midfielder that can play as a central attacking midfielder, and he's worth £925,000. Jermaine McNerney from Fylde, left back or centre back with 68 overall and has the dives into tackles trait. He's worth £1.1 million. Craig Marshall, another player from the National League that has decent potential, has 68 overall, can play as a right winger or centre mid, has the power free kick trait, and he's worth £1.3 million. Jay Lowry, another National League player that has some potential, can play as a centre mid or a central defensive midfielder, has 72 overall, he's worth £4.1 million. Okay, then we move on to David Debra, who's playing for Wrexham. He's a centre-back with 71 overall and has the playmaker trait, and he's currently worth £2.9 million. George Curran for Barnet, he's a central attacking midfielder, has 69 overall and long passer, playmaker and second wing traits, and he's currently worth £1.3 million. Pascal Cook at Stockport County, he's a right back with 5-star skill moves, 67 overall and a solid player, playmaker and outside of the foot shot traits. He's currently worth £975,000. Chris Bennett for Halifax is a left or right back with 68 overall. He has the injury prone trait unfortunately, but he's worth £1 million. Verdane Baldwin is a central attacking midfielder that can play as a centre mid. Only has 1-star skill and weak foot though, and has the playmaker traits however. He's 72 overall and he's currently worth £4 million. Ben Barnes is a centre forward that can also play as a striker and has 5-star skill moves and a 4-star weak foot. He also has the swerve pass traits and has a 69 overall rating, which gives him a valuation of £1.4 million. Jason Anderson, playing for Sutton United, is a right midfielder with 68 overall and the dives into tackles trait, and he's currently worth £1.2 million. Ben Adshed for Bromley is a 74 overall rated centre mid with the playmaker and second wing traits that he's worth £8 million. Quite a tidy sum for a National League team, and he is only 18 years of age. We will have to monitor his progress. But then we've got the real big baller from the National League in the form of Dylan Debra, and he is a centre back for Barnet. Take a look at that overall 83. This regen is absolutely packing with 2-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot. Can also play in the CDM role, which is obviously where you would play him if you were Barnet, I would imagine. He's worth £36 million and they won't sell him. He's far too important for the club. I wonder why, because he is going to be vital for them. They will have to take an offer at some stage though, or face losing him, because I would imagine that at some stage they might have some contract issues with him if they don't get promoted. Next up, we've got a centre-back from the Baggies, West Bromwich Albion. 71 overall is Wanderson Barbosa Boama. He's a Brazilian, 17 years of age, does have the injury-prone trait, but he's worth £3.1 million. Next up, we've got Luke Conlon from Aston Villa. He's a striker with the solid player, playmaker and technical dribbler traits with a 61 overall, and he's worth £350,000. Henrik Anderson is a player that was on our books at one stage. He's joined Wrexham with a 57 overall and has the long passer and playmaker traits, worth £150,000 at this stage. Another free agent that I have considered is Frederico Peter Pamelio Lima. The central attacking midfielder from Brazil has 68 overall with the long throw-in and bicycle kick traits, and obviously we can have him on a free. Another player that I've had and had big success with in the past is Emile Smith-Rowe. He plays for Arsenal and he's a left winger, right winger or central attacking midfielder that currently has 74 overall with a technical dribbler trait. He has a 4-star skill moves and a 3-star weak foot, and he's worth £8 million. Now, the big thing with Smith-Rowe is he's got a £2.5 million release clause. So if you brought him into the squad and had him for a year, let's say, you could absolutely bank on him come the end of the sale period. But the biggest issue that we would have with him here at Solihull is the fact that his weekly wage at Arsenal is £50,000. Now, clearly he would take a pay cut to come to a lower club, but even that said, I don't think it's a deal that we could get done anytime soon. But I will monitor him just to make sure that he does stay with that release clause for the foreseeable future. And if we can at some stage, I may bring him in, because I've always had a fantastic rapport with the player, and hopefully we could probably get that out of him once more. Ian Gallagher was on our youth academy, 58 overall with a solid player trait and a 5-star skill moves. He's worth £250,000. Jamie Watson, another product of our youth academy, has 61 overall and he's now worth £450,000. Same as Rob Ross, he came through the academy, he's at Bury. The right back has 58 overall and he's worth £230,000. Ewan Harrison, we sold off from the youth academy, 56 overall and he's worth £130,000. Alfie Martin was one of the players that came through the youth academy. Surprise, surprise, there's plenty of them on this list. Has 58 overall and he's worth £130,000. David Volpini is a player that we got from the free agents list and actually managed to get quite a substantial amount of money for in a transfer deal when he went to Girona. He's now worth £5.5 million. Aidan Anderson was part of the youth academy. The 60 overall rated player is at Cambridge United and worth £400,000. Then we got Morgan Gibbs-White, who plays for the Wolves, a very talented youngster that I'm keeping my eye on and perhaps may bring into the squad at a later date. Same with Ken Campbell, the central attacking midfielder, has 68 overall and he's currently worth £1.4 million. We've got Gideon Groib from Shrewsbury, a centre mid with 68 overall and has the playmaker, outside foot shot and second win traits, and he's worth £975,000. We've got Alex Ince, a striker from Bromley with 68 overall. Only has 1-star skill moves, which is a bit disappointing, but has the dives into tackles trait and he's worth £1.4 million. So there we have it, the end of this list. Hope you've stuck with it. There was a lot of players there to get through, and obviously I will monitor all of these going forward and continue to add players as the regens arrive on the list. Right guys, so here we are on transfer deadline day. I'm just going to run down the clock now. There's 10 hours left to see if any more deals go over the line. Let's just see if there are anybody interested in our players at this stage and whether we can do any further deals. 8 hours left on the clock here and there's a couple of messages coming in. Let's take a look at what we've got. Transfer offer for Burn, £170,000 from Waterford FC. We're going to accept that, worth £140,000 should I say. So we are definitely going to accept that one. And the other email that was on the list there was that Nottingham Forest have agreed £7 million as a deal for Umar Dugu. Now, to be honest, I just put that out there because I never expected them to come in with nearly double what he's worth. So that to me proves that he has a huge amount of potential, and I'm going to reject that offer on that basis because I do think that at 70 overall, that is just the beginning of where this Gabonese left back is going to set his target for his journey through this career mode. Okay, so what else we got in the waters here with 7 hours left on the clock? Another email in as a loan offer for Smithy. Dijon making that offer, and to be perfectly honest, I don't want to let him go because he has become quite a vital player out on the left hand wing for us, so we'll reject that offer. Another email coming in. Got a player sold, so that means that Thomas Byrne has left the club for that £170,000. £110,000 of that will go into our budget. Four hours left on the clock, now down to 3. And negotiations have broken down for Brendan Rafferty. Obviously, Rafferty is on the transfer list, but I'm trying desperately not to sell him. So any offer that comes in, I'm trying to really push it off in order that he doesn't leave the club, and obviously over egg it just a little bit, which is what I've done here with Dusseldorf. I think we have perhaps staved off the attacks here on transfer deadline day for most of the team. Indeed we have. That is it for the window, but there are 3 emails there on the, make that 4 emails for us to get through, and none of them are really going to have an impact because the only one that is here of any significance is Wigan offering us £890,000 for Frank Ziegler, which we will reject because he has become a firm fixture in the second string team. Okay, so there we have it, a different episode for you this time around. I hope you have stuck with it. I know it's going to be quite a long one just based on how long it's took me to get through, let alone doing the edit. But if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel for more FIFA 20 content. For now though, I'm out of here.